Owen, how's things? You well?
How are you getting on, lads?
How are
Not
you
too
doing?
bad.
How are you
Not
getting
too
on?
bad.
Good. Any crack?
Yeah, tivil a bit now. Tivil a bit. How's your Paddy's Day?
Very quiet.
Didn't get up to too
Very
much trouble, no?
What?
Didn't get up to too much mischief like yourselves.
No. Is this being recorded live now? Is the thing now, and I'll tell you the real story.
It's not live. No, I edited everything out. So
No, we didn't do that. No, honestly, we didn't.
Who's pub were you?
We had a few friends there last Saturday night, and we had a knock on the door. All right, so we said we take Paddy's Day quiet now. To be honest,
you never know who's around.
No. It's mad, sure. Like, isn't it? It's like a year now, like, you know. But
Mad.
yeah. Did you start up the podcast like as a result of Everton and
boredom? I tell you what,
when we started.
Yeah,
we were kind of October.
We were chatting before the start of the year, like, and then kind of about it, and then we were kind of looking on the Irish side and seeing kind of who was out there, and not that we didn't think anyone would tune into us for expert opinions, because I know I wouldn't, but just more the crack, like, just to see what we could get at. So we started back in, I'd say we kicked off probably week 5 into last year, like, so it was probably October, like, and
very good.
We were kind of just doing a few like review shows and stuff like that, and then as the off season kicked in, then just to kind of keep it going over, we had a few lads on. We had last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a lad that's actually playing over, an Irish lad. He's from Enniskerry. He's playing in the college over in the States, and he's hoping to get into the draft next year.
2022's draft then, obviously.
Yeah, because they had
what position does he play?
Punter.
All right, yeah. No, I was thinking it was either like a punter or a kicker. Like, I don't think we'd have the athletic ability, would we not? Like, in fairness.
Wouldn't produce too many O-line boys, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Or like an edge rusher, like, but...
Suits the Irish mould for a kicker.
It does. Yeah. Geez, that's very interesting now that he's hoping to get into the draft, but the likelihood of him probably going undrafted would be quite high, like, unless he's an exceptional college talent, really, as a kicker, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. What was it? It was number 5. He was. Is it Mel Kiper? What's his name? Mel Kiper?
Yeah, I don't know if you know Mel Kiper. He does a lot of these mock drafts. He put him this year, if he was to go for the draft, he put him in his top 5 punters. Now, saying that, not that a lot of punters would get picked up maybe in the deeper rounds, but
it'd be a 6th or 7th round pick, kind of like, max.
Yeah.
Like, it is, isn't it?
But still, like, even to get that kind of like, even that limelight, like, because it's serious. Like, he's got, like, seen a few videos of him, like, he's got some boot on him.
Like, she's very good.
Like,
Yeah, because like all the draft videos and stuff like that, I've been a little bit out of the loop. I'm actually off social media, I suppose, a self-imposed ban, really. And so, do you know the way, like, in the build-up to this now, and even hitting free agency, I'm a small bit out of the loop, like, so I'm trying to follow it on the Ravens app and the NFL app, but you don't, get the breaking news, the Ian Rappaport tweet,
the man to follow is right. Yeah, him and Adam Schefter, like, they have everything going.
Yeah.
They never sleep.
They
never sleep.
Never sleep. It's mad. Did you see the video of him on the Pat McAfee show? And he gets the who did he get? There was somebody sacked. Was the Jets manager our coach was getting the sack? I think it was.
Gates,
and he got the breaking news online, so he'd cut the link. Like, so it's mad. Like, they're constantly I suppose, looking for the next thing, aren't they? Really, like,
Yeah, hard to keep up with it. Like.
But it's unreal, though, like how they expose everything, isn't it? Like, even at the college game, like, when I see, like, you yourself there, Matthew, with the Longhorns t-shirt on, like, we were in Austin there a couple of years ago. We didn't get to see, it was during November, it was during the start of a bit of a break in the season. There was no games on the same weekend, I think it was, or they were away from home, I'm pretty sure, but like, just the size of the stadium, like, for a college team, it's just ridiculous.
Massive.
We were there ourselves 2 years ago as well. I was there twice. When were they there, Matthew? Was it 2 years ago?
In May. We were there in May,
Yeah, 2019. The year Mayo were playing in New York that year. Yeah, we went to Texas then after. So
yeah,
we made we ripped the hole out of it altogether. But it was at the Longhorn Stadium, like that game on. But geez, it's some spectacle, like
isn't it?
It's been renovated. Actually, it's been the capacity's going up more. When we were there, they were actually extending behind one of the goals. They're putting like a balconies in it. You know, you'd be able to have a beer and be out in the balcony looking out in the field.
Yeah,
they're expanding behind the goal there, so the capacity probably go up another bit. Like
we were in Orlando there. It would have been Christmas 19, the start of 2020. So really when COVID was kicking off, but we got in the Citrus Bowl and Alabama were playing Michigan, and the Citrus Bowl, so what would it be? It'd probably fifth or sixth, I suppose, ranked bowl, if even that, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know, and the crowd that was at, it was crazy, and we ended up having a few beers with these lads that drove from Michigan, they're up in, where's the location, Ann Arbor, I think it is.
Yeah, that's it.
It took them 20 something hours to drive down, something crazy. You were Jesus, did you get any sleep at all? And the three boys were there, oh no. When the driver was getting into the seat, they were taking these fucking anxiety pills basically to keep them awake to drive for 8 or 9 hours, bonkers stuff, to go follow the college team, so you have to respect that
going
too.
to Crow Park,
Yeah. Giving out about, if we had a bit of traffic there and, it's over 3 hours, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean?
You better win now for all this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's different level. No, thanks for coming on. I didn't even introduce you, but fair play to you for taking the time out.
No matter.
You need no introduction for all Ireland's. Is that right? Blame Wikipedia now if that's wrong. Is it?
yeah, that's the for it. Jesus, Wikipedia, you're going off. Fair play to you. There could be anything up on that now. A few boys could be.
Yeah, I see a lot worse there on it.
Yeah.
I drew the All Ireland medal total here already, so fair play to you.
Yeah. So,
and as you said, when we missed you there, we won't go too much into the GAA because us being from the west of Mayo, we're not too clued in with the hurling. We probably know more about it.
There's no bother at all, lads. Jeez, I'd nearly prefer this now, more of a.
I was gonna say, I'm sure you'd rather not be talking about it now when you're actually off for a while.
Yeah. Do you know, because when you come on to these yokes, I've done a couple of Zoom calls with different clubs, and started talking to them, and did one with a club in North Carolina, Raleigh GAA. There's a neighbour of ours over there. She's married in over there, and. It was nearly done question and answers at the end for about an hour and a half, and they're obviously just still over so much, do you know what I mean? So you're trying to stay on, to facilitate, but then afterwards you're just Jesus, I'm nearly sick of it, and I'm not even playing, so it's mad,
We would know a slither if it hit us in the face, so you're
say what we mean in football now, so look, we'll say no more then,
Yeah. Good. But how did you get into your cell phone? Initially, American football. What was the...
It would have been about 2003, 2004, when I started taking a proper interest in it. And, I suppose, I don't know whether it was around that time that the Sky Sports coverage was really started to take off. I think it was, wasn't it, really? Because we would have always had Sky Sports and never really paid much attention to it up till that stage. And, so that's really how I got into it. And then there used to be always a highlight show. I think it was on Channel 4 or something like that as well. And that used to be a Saturday evening. So it used to show all the previous weekend's games. So obviously, you wouldn't get to see the late night games. You wouldn't get to see the Monday night game and things like that. So that was a good way to, I suppose, maybe get to learn the know-how of it really. So that's is around 2003, 2004.
And the Ravens
Super Bowl back then too on was it on RTE back then, the Super Bowl, or was it just on Channel 5? I think it was.
Can't remember. I used to be watching it on because we ended up it was always Sky or the Channel 4 is what we used to be watching it on so I can't remember whether RTE had it but
they'd have none of the adverts, and then when it would go to an advert they'd bring the camera to the right to the back of the stadium and just do a shot from there, it was happening every 5 minutes. So.
That was it's like the dodgy box stream now, is it? The screen goes blank, so RTE were way ahead of the game back in 2003 and 4, in fairness.
And how did you start following the Ravens? Is it relations, or was it just kind of
No, none at all. Like, and I wasn't there for the first Super Bowl win either. Like, you know, so it would have been a couple of years after that. But I just think, you know, like they were still, I suppose, one of the better teams at that stage. But like, you know, maybe the whole aura of the Ravens organization, you know, like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed at that time, and yeah, so just, you know, they were personalities, I suppose, and personalities off the field and on the field, like, you know, so used to get a good bit of coverage, like, and so that was one of the reasons why, I suppose, you know, and I just followed suit then ever since, like, would have been always trying to keep up to date with it, like, you know, and certainly even more so the last couple of years.
Yeah. I'm
a Ravens fanatic in the corner.
Yeah, I'm a Ravens man as well, but
very good.
You obviously got in so as well for the Joe Flacco era. We got the Super Bowl, but we didn't get an awful lot of joy like that.
No, like a couple of AFC Norths now. That's all we got out of it. Like, and even at that, like I think for the team they had with Joe Flacco during those years, like I think maybe they were probably a wide receiver or another player that with maybe Dennis Pitt at that time, like away from, you know, I suppose contesting Super Bowls. But then when you look back on those teams, like they were exceptional. Like, sure, the Patriots had to, you know, wasn't it Billy Kniff, I think, or I can't think of his surname now, missed the field goal to draw it up to 27-24, like back in the year before they won it, actually.
Stephen Hauschka, the guy that he's kicking now with the Bills, I think it is.
Is it? Right.
Yeah.
Do you know, so they're always thereabouts, but like I still don't think they probably would have got to the Super Bowl. Do you know, you just need those X factor players, and when they won it then in the 2012 season, like when they won it in 2013, I think they had those like Torrey Smith and, you know, Dennis Pitt then as well. They just had X-factor players at each position, like, and Jacoby Jones then as well as a punt returner, kick returner, like, you know, those things, like, especially American football, the way it's so tactical, like, it just, you know, those small, you know, like your special teams is huge, like, if they can give you good field position, it makes it so much easier, like, you know, and I know it's such a, you know, it's like, say, a Premiership team, if you're saying, look, if you're good on set pieces there, like, you know, you'll always be thereabouts, like, and it's, you know, an easy thing to point out, but not every team can get it right, you know.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because like, say, so Aaron there, up in the, I don't know, I guess your screen is different laid out
down here.
Yeah,
good looking one.
Yeah, well, he's a Raiders fan, and then Matthew there with the Longhorns jersey, he's a Bears fan. So
very good.
To suffer a lot more misery there.
And even talking about kickers there, Matthew. Jesus, yeah. Sorry is all you can say, really.
Think about it, you know, about the double doink. I still think about it a lot, you know, especially this last year gone when I have a lot of time to think about things.
But like, do you know the way they talk about the yips and stuff like that? Like, and you'd always wonder, like, fuck, the yips, like, should have been paid a couple of $1 million to do it. Like, what you talking about the yips for? Like, do you know? But I think watching that game that time, like, you know, it just probably epitomized like the whole, do you know what it actually is? Isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
like it's fine margins, you know,
isn't
margins.
It like, yeah.
We would have won that game 9 times out of 10, like, and
absolutely.
We were playing a team that we destroyed a month before that in the next round of the playoffs, like, and next thing the Rams ended up getting to the Super Bowl, who we destroyed a month before that.
Yeah,
they lost to the Patriots. So.
And, you know, I suppose the Rams getting to the Super Bowl that year against a team like the Patriots, like the way they were based all around, like, it's like an offensive scheme. Like, you know, Bill Belichick was always going to come up with some defensive, you know, game plan to sort of, you know, I think stifle that, like, you know, and Patriots now. None of you Patriots fans, are you? No. Raiders, obviously, no, sorry. Yeah. You know, you'd always question an Irish Patriots fan, like, you know, and they're saying, like, oh, the connection with Boston is just like, plus all the Super Bowls they won as well, like, you know, feck off, like.
Like a Man City fan when they got all the money.
Yeah. It's like a 30-year-old Man City fan. It's just like, when did you start supporting them there now? It's like, sure, you know, 2010 or something like that, like, just like, go away. You know.
Do you trust Lamar owner? Do you have faith in him?
It's an interesting one, like, and I suppose, you know, you have to look at, like, in fairness there, like, I think the Ravens are like a very well-run organization, like, you know, so like with Harbaugh there, and even when they probably didn't have a great team, they were always very competitive, like in the AFC North, like when, look, okay, maybe the Browns in the last year or two have only started to come into being a, you know, a franchise that people actually worry about playing, like, you know, but the Bengals were always thereabout. Steelers are, you know, they haven't been below 500, I think, since Tomlin taken over, so they're always going to be competitive, but yeah, so like they trust him because they've literally gone all in, the way that they're drafting players, the way that they've targeted free agency this year as well, like with going after another tight end. I just actually seen it there. They've got one of the Jag tight ends, can't think of his name now.
Yeah, I just seen that as well.
yeah, and pronunciation could be wrong here, but Zettler as well, the guard from the Giants. Like, and I'd say the way they'll go on the draft now again is they'll probably go, whether they'll go O-line or D-line first, like, but it'll be, I think that's the route they'll go first and second round, and then probably a skills player, the likes of maybe even another running back or wide receiver, probably third round. So they're going all in on Lamar, to be fair. So, like, I think, yeah, you probably have to trust him then after that. And I think, you know, people then sort of forget, like, about he's only going to be 24 playing this year, I think it is, isn't it? He's only going to turn 24 in December, I think.
He will, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he's still relatively young, like, and you look at, you know, all the other quarterbacks that they're talking about, and Mahomes is a year or two older, or Watson is similar as well. So the amount of games that they've played before Jackson, you know, a lot of quarterbacks comes with experience, isn't it? Like, you have to read whatever defensive schemes are coming up against, and I think he sort of developed that a small bit this year, like, because even with everything going on with COVID, the amount of injuries they had, and, you know, I think he was carrying a few injuries and things, and he was able to sort of play around teams with his arms a small bit, rather than depending on his legs. Like last year, it was just, you know, it was run heavy the whole time. And the Titans found that out in the playoffs. So, but I just think, like, again, the Bills, like, I don't think, I think they're a very good team. Like, and again, you know, defensively, they were able to set up against the Ravens, stop with the run. And, you know, because probably we don't have an X factor wide receiver, it wasn't somebody that was going to break, you know, over the top, like, you know, going for 60, 70 yard touchdown. So, but back to the trust thing, like, yeah, I think, look, you have to probably go with what Bisciotti and, you know, even the cost there now in Harbaugh, like the way that they're drafting free agency, they're building around them. And so, yeah, you sort of have to run with that, like, you know, and I do think he probably needs to get a little bit more clinical with the arm, because, you know, in last year's playoff game, I thought there was a couple of chances there, like, you know, that there was big plays on the Titans defense that I think probably just could have swung momentum around, like, and
missed throw zone.
Missed throws, yeah. And then, you know, there was one where Hayden Hurst, I don't know whether it was Jackson's fault or Hayden Hurst, but he was literally just crossing the end line and he turned his head, like, and the ball hit him in the chest. Like, so even if he sort of put up one arm, it was like, it was right in the pocket. And another one then is Chris Moore was up the sideline and it was just that half yard. I don't know whether you blame the wide receiver or Jackson for just putting it that bit too much in front of him. But the safety actually was jumping up on it and he misread the play and sort of slipped, like, so Chris Moore had the whole field to run into that. So that's two potential touchdowns, like, you know, that would swing, you know, I suppose, like, with the crowd having a home playoff game, like, I think would have been huge. But, you know, if buts and maybes, I suppose, like, you know, you can keep going, like, even this year, like, on different occasions where it felt like they had the Bills on the rack and just left them off the hook, like, and I think that pick six, I think just, you know, it just felt like after that they were really chasing the game, you know, so but I think you just, I think, you know, you have to, I suppose, trust the owners and you know, everyone, they're all in on Lamar, so, you know, like, I think definitely so, like, and I do think he's good, like, he's probably going to win at least 10 games a year, do you know what I mean, because of, you know, play action alone, really. But I just think when it comes to playoffs, and if teams, like obviously you're a good team if you get to the playoffs. So if you're actually, good at stopping the run, well, then you need to play the team with your arm. And I just think that's where he needs, to come up to speed with.
Yeah, I'd say, if anything, like being a Ravens fan now rather than the Joe Flacco era, like at least
absolutely,
it's exciting at least, like,
isn't it?
But like you said, like he is kind of, I mean, he has that escapability factor. Like you always have a chance in a game in terms of that. But when you're lacking that kind of deep pass as well, I think another thing that they could kind of prove is if because the Ravens fans every year want, I guess we want them to sign a star wide receiver, because they got Hollywood Brown that year, and he had an average season, nothing exceptional. There was obviously a lot of free agents this year, wide receivers that they were hoping to get, maybe Golladay or even Smith-Schuster or Corey Davis. But I'd say if we could get a wide receiver, we could, and like a star wide receiver, and then maybe that could at least rule out the fact that, all right, now, Lamar, you have at least an options to go to. So, if you can't improve, then maybe it's starting to look at something different. But like you said, like you said there, I'd say they'll still give him a contract, to be honest. I can't see them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what type of contract they give him, though, because I think they need to build a star wide receiver, as you mentioned there. I do think they need someone like that. And is Juju still on the market, or does he go actually?
Juju is actually talks today with the Jets. I think that's probably where he's going to go. But I'm not even sure on Juju, to be honest, either. Because he's a bit of a. He just loves TikTok too much. He only wants
probably
to
doesn't suit the Ravens culture. They actually don't really go for players like that, don't they? Not to be fair.
Yeah.
And
he is a real deep threat. His speed is exceptional.
And he's such a big body as well. And the way that the Steelers were playing last year, they were nearly, even if they were playing with 4 wide receivers, they were all nearly playing as slot receivers, because none of them, they knew that Big Ben wasn't going to throw over the top, so they were all running short routes. So, do you know what I mean? So, but he can play over the top as well. And I think Hollywood is probably, and you see last year in the last couple of games and in the playoffs there, I think he's nearly, he's better off playing as the slot receiver, getting his hands on the ball and then making plays with his legs, rather than trying to wrestle with a cornerback, or even with we'll say a safety coming up being double teamed. He's not big enough, big bodied enough or strong enough to fight for a 50-50 ball. I just think they need to get the ball in his hands and make him make plays with his legs then after that,
He's more so of an AJ Brown kind of a player, rather than go up and get a kind of a receiver,
Absolutely,
But that's in fairness, there's never been a real season where Ravens wise, we've ever had 2 star receivers as such. Usually we sign, say we signed Anquan Bolden that year, Super Bowl, and then we signed, I think, Hushmanza for a season or 2, and then we signed Steve Smith Senior for 2 or 3 years. But we only get one. We're only allowed one, and then it's run game and defense after that.
Isn't it? Yeah. But I just think it really depends on Lamar's contract. And I don't think he's going to be worth. In my opinion, I do think he's probably, there's if you want to go off your tiers, he's certainly at the very top of the second tier, but is he probably top 5, with the likes of Rodgers, Brady, Wilson, Watson, Mahomes, I don't think so. I'd be careful what type of contract I would give him, really, because he does need weapons around him. He's not going to make plays. He's not going to throw players open every single play. He might do it a couple of times a game, but so that probably would be my biggest fear. But you mentioned there, the Joe Flacco era, I actually was over in Wembley a couple of years ago. they were playing Jacksonville.
Oh, you got to that game. Oh.
I actually left halfway during the fourth quarter. It was awful. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like it's certainly, they're certainly exciting to watch now. You know what I mean? Because you've no idea what's going to happen. Like, what's going to happen? You know. But I think then, you know, having a running back like J.K. Dobbins, like I think you just need to, you know, probably keep him in the game, similar enough to what Zeke was doing with Dallas at a time when he's going well. You just nearly need to keep giving him the ball, isn't it? Like same with Bell when he was very good, like, isn't it?
Yeah, like he was making some serious yardage, like when he was carrying it last year, like, and then they kind of give it to Gus Edwards then to finish off, like he just drives it in, like at the end. I got tickets for that game as well, the Jags game, but I was in the States at the time, and I came home. I didn't get as much work, and as I liked over there, and I came home a bit early because I ran out of funds, and came home a week early because Mayo were in the. I don't think it was 19, was it? No,
they were in the final every year. Don't say that.
It was 17.
Oh, right.
It was 17. It was like, didn't they draft Lamar that year? Like, or the following draft, like,
So because I came home, my funds were short, and I came home, and Mayo made the final as well. So I asked
the wrong choice.
I had the 2 tickets. I didn't have tickets for the Mayo game either, but of course you get them, like, and then I had to get funds off the outlet for the Mayo game, but then there was no way a week later I could ask him to go to London for the Jags. Good fucking thing I didn't, because they got, like you said, it was 50-0 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful. You know, we got a very good game there. The same year we got to see the Citrus Bowl. Myself and Wally Welsh. Wally actually sits beside me on the bus going to matches, and so I think, like, he only supports the Ravens nearly out of support of myself, really, and you know, like, so the two of us anyway. We UPMC are obviously sponsoring Kilkenny and Nolan Park here, and they're obviously University Pittsburgh Medical Center, like, so they are the Roonies, like, who started up that, like, so. When I knew the Ravens were playing the Steelers, like, so I was like, gosh, do you know, around it, couldn't get tickets at all, like, you know, sort of in the couple of weeks leading up to it, and they were going really expensive. It's like, you know, I don't know, like, so got onto one of the lads from home is working, he's one of the directors, or general manager of UPMC in Ireland here. And I was like, listen, you know, any chance you be able to swing us a few tickets? Like, sure. Ended up, you know, getting us a couple, and, you know, sure enough, then we were down in Orlando. Game was obviously in Baltimore. So organised the tickets, and about 10 days beforehand then we were trying to book flights at the busiest time of the year in the States for travelling, like, you know. So couldn't get anything into Baltimore Washington Airport. So had to fly to Philly, get an Uber down to Baltimore, like. It was some crap show now, like, but so that's how we managed it. But geez, got to see a great game, even though RG3 was actually playing the same day. But it's just like, it was pure, like, it was just great atmosphere, and it was deadly stadium to see as well, actually. But so seen them a couple of times. Yeah, it was cool, like, and you know, we met a couple of lads here then as well that were going to it from Ireland, and our strength and conditioning coach Kilkenny here now as well, Mickey Comfort, has a brother-in-law over there, and he lives in Baltimore, so Jimmy's his name. So we were like, oh, listen, we'll meet up, and, you know, a few beers and different things. And he was saying, like, you know, look, an hour before the game we'll go to downtown where the stadium is, like, and he was like, you know, the place would be bustling, like, you know, it'd be great, like. And it was mildering down like rain. I was just bucking. So I was like, like, thinking there'd be nobody out about that. And down, people are just out in the streets, like, you know, and they're real mad sports town, like, you know, the Baltimore Orioles is the stadium. As you're walking down, you have to walk by it, like, and it's just, it's really cool. And as you were coming around, the game was changed to a 4:00 or the 4:30 game, I think it was. So it's just about getting dark, like, and as soon as you turn the corner at the Orioles Stadium, like, it's just the M&T Bank is there and it's glowing, like, in the purple. So it's actually cool, like, to see. But it was a great experience. We had deadly seats then as well to make it better, like, so.
Different. It's a show, like, in the States. It's not just a sport. It's not just a game. it's the whole day. Like, it's the way they do it. It's like I was actually the Ravens Raiders game a couple of years ago, and I was over there in the Coliseum as well. But it's the same. It's the tailgating beforehand. Like, they're meeting characters, like, and it could be pissing rain, it could be snowing out, but the place would be rocking. Like, so. What did you think of the college game? I don't think any of us have been to a college game, but the atmosphere watching that in the telly is just, it seems like a level above NFL even.
Yeah. Now, I think, like, obviously the bowl game that we were at, so it's not like the case of where, you know, you go to the Longhorn Stadium and there's however many, like, the stadium is probably 95% Texas fans. Do you know what I mean? So it was nearly split in half. Probably a little bit more Alabama fans were at it than Michigan fans. But the atmosphere was cool. Just, again, the whole build up to it, just because there were two such college powerhouses, like, you know, there was a real buzz around. And so it was slightly different beforehand. Just because of that, like, there was a real mixture, like, everybody was mixing with each other. Because we went to a good few games. We've went to games in New York as well when we were on holidays, and a game in San Diego. We were at the last San Diego Chargers game in the Qualcomm, I think it was. And they were playing the Chiefs, like, and that was the year the Chiefs were really coming good. They drafted Tyreek Hill, and Kelsey was there a few years, the Kareem Hunt and that as well. I think it could have been the year before they drafted Mahomes, because Alex Smith was still playing. But that atmosphere was ridiculous, because there hadn't been anything signed about the Chargers going up to LA at that time, but you know, everybody sort of knew about it, and you know, the owner at the time, like, you know, there was people protesting at the game, and it was real it was a real tense atmosphere. And then it was nearly like halfway during the third quarter, I think it was, the Chiefs ended up getting a couple of quick touchdowns, and just the whole atmosphere of the stadium changed, like, towards the director's box, the owner's box, like, roaring abuse, and it was mad, like, you know. So but I haven't been to an actual home college game, and that is something now that I will certainly plan, like, you know, to get the real feel for it, like, you know. But as you said, it's the way they market everything, the, you know, tailgame beforehand, the music between plays, and, you know, and it's a pure show, like, it's great, like.
Do you reckon the GAA could take anything from that, or bring it in, or do you think there's much?
I think the way they probably, you know, they want the GAA to go now with, like, the Sky Sports contracts and that then as well. Like, I think, you know, in some ways they can, you know, make it a little bit more, like, the build-up's a little bit more dramatic and different things like that, you know. But I think it would be quite hard, because it's so quick, like, and even with Gaelic football, like, you know, it's not a case of there's a stoppage or anything like that. Like, the ball is in play for, you know, large portions of the game, like, so it's not the show element. I'm not so sure how they would, you know, bring something in to suit the GAA, but, like, I think they can certainly take ideas how they promote the players and different things, like, certainly do. And some of the entrances then as well, it'd be cool, like, you know, coming out under the corner and under Crow Park there would be nuts, wouldn't it? Like, under smoke screen and stuff like that. It'd be crazy, actually. Yeah, it'd be cool.
The fire coming up.
Yeah. Imagine if you're playing Dublin, you'd have to come out underneath the corner of the Cusick in the Hill 16 there, like, you know, and you know, it'd be great, like. So
I was gonna say, they had this year, didn't they, on the NFL? Like, everybody had their own, like, little emoji, and, like, everyone had their own little dance that they'd do. So you could you could have that next year.
yeah. But no, it is, like, it's a pure show, and, like, I'd happily spend whatever money I could now to go to a Super Bowl, to be honest, like, you know, again, just a show element, like, of it, you know. And a couple of lads then went to New Orleans.
The Dome.
New Orleans. Yeah, no, they weren't at the Dome, but they were playing the one of their first playoff game there this year. Last year would have been 2019. Oh, it was the Vikings, actually. It was the missed call, actually. And it was just the whole day building up to it. It was just, the town went mental, like, do you know what I mean? It was like a mini Mardi Gras, like they were saying. And that's like every home game for the Saints. Like, it's just a pure festival mode, like, you know. So something like that now, like, you know, it'd be cool to see, like, you know. But it'd be hard to know now what the GAA could pull from it. Like, I think maybe the whole build-ups to it, like, playing off the rivalries. Yeah, like I think they could, Sky Sports could do something like that with it.
Sky are bringing in the stats a lot more as well. Maybe they're taking that from it. Like they're a lot more zoned in on the statistics before the games. And they're big green screens and
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Like, I know my father at home now. Maybe the younger generation, the likes of us, like watching games, like we want to see, like how many high catches were fielded, by Brian Fenton in the last couple of games and stuff like that. And comparisons, we'll say maybe Tom Parsons or Aidan O'Shea of Mayo. Then we'll say, do you know what I mean? Like I'd be very interested in that, but like I just know my dad at home would be pure old school, so he'd much prefer probably RTE and Joe Brawley and the boys flaking off each other there, like so that's it. Just depends maybe what generation you're in, and just the Americans love the stats and that whole element of being over under, or like whatever it is, like the podcast here, like they love that, don't they? Like and it's all figures for them, really.
Yeah.
Even the cameras they have. Do you know the cameras they have in Sky in the NFL?
Yeah.
When they zoom in, they're unreal.
Yeah. What are they called? Is it a? I can't think of. Do you know the one that we used to go out on the field? So when there used to be like when they'd call a timeout, or if there was an injury timeout and the players are huddling or whatever, they had an aim on the camera, but it felt like you were playing a video game. It was nuts,
mad.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. The background is a bit blurred. I think it's more.
It's in your face, really, isn't it? Like, it's cool now. It's deadly. And I think maybe things like that, like if there was a proper break in play, like, that if something like that was happening, but maybe the fact then that we're amateur players, I don't know, like, look, they're all based off like their social media following, really, aren't they? Like, sort of the brand of it. To some degree, like, if you have a big brand there, you could probably demand more of a contract, and Everton follow suit off that. Like Juju there, like, will get a big contract, whether we, think maybe he deserves it or not. I think, he's certainly, he's good enough to get a decent contract out of it. But, I personally wouldn't like the whole social media, the TikTok things he's doing. I just think it's a bad vibe on the team, like, but some teams like that, the likes of the Jets there now who are in the doldrums, they need, I suppose any type of media coverage at all is nearly good media coverage for them in some ways, so they'll play off that probably as much as possible. Wait to see.
Can imagine Brian Cody be too happy with the TikTok now.
Well, yeah, look, I would have been a regular user of Twitter and things like that as well, and I'd be getting on to lads and stuff like that. I wouldn't really give a hoot, and so I used to get the odd old, be careful sort of thing, like, so maybe that's why I'm on the self-imposed ban, but so.
Very much like Bill Belichick, looking from the outside anyway. Cody and Belichick, I don't know, is that a fair comparison? But
yeah, it is. Like, and you look at Belichick now, what he's doing, like, I suppose building a whole new, like, and I think they're probably even gone, well, maybe with Cam Newton as quarterback, like, I don't think they'll probably will certainly go a deep run into the playoffs, but they'll be thereabouts for the East this year. And like, with all the acquisitions he's made, like, and I think the free agency was only barely open, and Matthew Judon had signed with him, so they know exactly the type of players, like, and I think people then forget, like, last year I think they had the most players opt out due to COVID, wasn't it? Like 9? It was a ridiculously high number or something like that. Like, because I think the next closest team had like 3 or 4 or something like that, and they were players who had underlying issues themselves, and or maybe members or whatever. And it was like the Patriots were just like, I know, feck it, sort of thing. In fairness to Belichick, I think, like, he's always looking at rebuilding, and they base everything off of culture, really, don't they? And but I think whether it was Belichick's or Robert Kraft's decision to leave Brady go, I just think, like, I think it was, they'd have to question themselves, to be honest, like,
they would now, Brady, especially once he's done it once.
Absolutely, like, and you see, like, Brady, what he's done there, and okay, albeit the Buccaneers were probably missing a quarterback to actually take him the next step, like, to maybe even an NFC game, let alone a Super Bowl, like, because Winston is, he's not good enough, in my opinion. you know, to good enough maybe to be a starter, but certainly to get a deep player front, don't think so.
Yeah.
But so that was probably the player they were missing, like, you know, and I think just, you know, you see what he's doing now, like restructuring the contract, you know, to allow more cap space to bring in more players. And he always seemed to be willing to do that at the Patriots. Like, he was a pure team player. So it was about winning. Like, it's not about the money with you know, Brady. You know, okay, his wife is earning more money than Witten. Like, it's probably easy to say that then, like, you know, but most players are just driven by, you know, what sort of signing bonus they can get, what sort of, you know, contract they can get out of it, you know. And you see players like in their last year having breakout seasons, yet they're on a team for 5 years, like, you know. So I question that. Like, it's just like, you know, well, were they actually busting their backside for the previous 4 years? Probably not, like, you know. And so a lot of it is driven by money. So that's where, and I wouldn't be a Brady fan now, to be honest. You know, just maybe because he's so successful, like, you know. But I think you have to respect him. Do you know, like, but I just think the way that he's gone about things down in Tampa Bay, I just think you have to really admire him. And, you know, I'm sure the Patriots knew what type of character and type of person he was. Like, so for them to leave him walk maybe so easily, I don't know. I just think that it's you know, yeah, I think they'd have to question that, like, you know, big time.
Yeah, a lot of it seemed to be to do with Belichick as well. Like, he kind of, I think he thought he was definitely finished, like, because the previous year before he left, say, he obviously didn't have a great season, but sure, he never had any weapons there ever. Like, he always pulling up trees with little fucking.
The offensive weaponry he had his last season was horrific.
Yeah.
Bad as you'll get in the league. And
isn't it though?
Brutal.
And people forget that, like, he still went to the playoffs with that.
They went to the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know,
they lost the first round.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did too, actually. Yeah. You know, and they could have won 10 games that year, like, do you know what I mean? So I just think, you know, and a couple of their players hit the free agency market that year. The wide receiver Hogan, can't think of his name. He was number 15.
Yeah, Scott Hogan. Yeah.
Do you know? And who's he with now? Nobody probably knows. Do you know what I mean? Is he still with a team? Do you know, on a?
I think he went to actual Jacksonville.
Did he?
He went to Jacksonville.
You know,
the Jacksonville or the Jets, I can't remember one of them.
You know, and he was the top wide receiver there, and it's just I think, like, everything was built around, you know, Brady. And look, maybe, I don't know, did Belichick probably not like the, you know, probably coverage that Brady was getting, that it was sort of on him? Who knows, like, you know. And it just seems like Brady went down there with a chip on his shoulder down to Tampa Bay.
The roster in Tampa Bay was assembled, just as you said there. They were just missing that final piece. All the pieces were there. Receivers, defensive players are all. It was just Winston was just too erratic, like, you know.
Yeah,
and it was on his part as well. Like, he took less money to even. He could have got more money elsewhere, like, but he knew himself. Going back from being a winner, you know, he knew himself. He had a better chance with them above all the other teams on the table.
He managed to get his friend Antonio Brown in as well, like, halfway through the year.
And Gronk coming back out of retirement as well. But I think, like, you know, the last year I've nearly got more respect for Brady because of that, like, taking the less money, you know, than he was offered. And I think it was 3 or 4 other teams, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just about, like, he was like, well, F that, like, I just want to win, like, you know. And
the likes of Cam Newton say is on. You know, I don't know how much more than he's done. A lot more than Brady anyway. He's one wild card game he's won, like. Yeah,
exactly. You know,
compared that to the money that Brady's on, like, he's driven differently, like, you know.
Isn't he? And I think, you know, I've got a lot more respect for him because of that. You know, just where he just solely wants to win, like, you know. And that's you have to respect that, don't you, really? Especially now the way everything has gone, people are just driven by money, social media following, you know, and things like that. That's how they deem themselves successful, you know. But it's about winning, you know. Like, even if you're involved playing with a fucking club, doing that at all, like, you know, it's all about winning, really. You know, and that's why we play sport, though, isn't it? Like, you know, it's like, from a young lad there, like, you know, he playing 5-a-side there and primary school and secondary school, like, it was just about winning, like, you know, and it was just that. And it looks like Brady is just a pure kid playing now, constantly wanting to win. That was it, like, you know. So I think this year, I've gained a lot of respect for him now, to be honest.
Yeah, it looked like he had a lot more like fun this year, even like it wasn't focused so on the defense, like compared to the way Belichick kind of always focused it. Not that that was anything wrong, because obviously he won so many Super Bowls, like, but
even the after party and the pictures of him getting pissed, like,
you
never see that. And
the Patriots, no, he was always like, it was always just seemed like it was Gronk was the party, like, but Brady was all over social media, like, you know. And I think from that point of view as well, I was just like, he was down there and he was just like, you know, it was like a kid, you know what, well, I won this, I'm going to enjoy it. You know, so I just think, you know, because of
the human side a bit more, like, makes him a bit more likable than
definitely.
Seems like a robot for the last 20 years.
What do you think of the Tom versus Time thing? Did you see that videos that were going around? It was on Facebook a couple of years ago. It was like a 4 or 5 part series showing like his whole training regime and the whole lot. Like, did any of you see that?
No, I listened to a podcast about him. I think it was it a podcast that was about Tom Brady, or it was about the Kraft kind of era in the Patriots, but I didn't see that one. No, it sounds interesting though.
I'll look it up, and it's definitely a couple of years now, and I'll send it on to you. But it's worth a watch. Like, but at that time, it just felt like that he, you know, whether there was much enjoyment in it, and it was just like, you know, he was there. Some of the things he was doing, and you know, the whole avocado ice cream thing. It's just like, fuck off, like, do you know what I mean? And sorry, well, look, maybe that's just myself. Like, other people probably were, you know, amazed by it, like, or whatever. But look, maybe that's why he's playing. What's he going to be, 44 next year, like, and he's still playing at the very top, like. So look, that's what you have to do. Maybe you have to lay off the magnums and get some avocado ice cream.
Eat the wrong diet.
And do you see many transferable skills, like, say, from hurling, for example, to American football? Or do you think an Irish person could potentially make it over there? Someone that's grown up here or outside of being a kicker?
I think it'd be very hard, like, and simply because just, you know, the size of them, you know, and the athletic ability they have, like, for somebody who's 6'7", 6'8", like, you know, or even say someone's 6'10", it's full foot taller than me, like, and they can move just as quick as me, and you know, their coordination levels. But like, when you see the amount of players that go through college level, and you know, I was listening to something there a couple of years ago about like the percentage of collegiate players that start playing college football. It's only like 0.00 something, isn't it? It's tiny to actually make it into the NFL. You know, so you
like
see
1% of 1%. I think from the pee-wee football to the high school to the college to
right. Is that the way it is? Sorry, yeah. Like, so when you break that down into the amount of people who actually play, like, as you're saying, pee-wee football, high school football, I just think, it would be quite hard. And you see, you know, the likes of Aidan O'Shea going over there, and Aidan O'Shea is a huge man. I've met him at a couple of functions. Well able to move, like, but when you seen him in comparison to some of the tight ends that he was, you know, going up against, and they were bigger men than him, but they just seemed that they were moving quicker, moving more freer, you know. And I think, like, seeing that actually was frightening, really. You know, just the pace of everything, and
you know, almost like it's
it nearly is, like, isn't it? I just think it would be quite hard, to be honest. Maybe, like, definitely not O-line, D-line, your tight end, wide receiver. I don't think genetically we probably have the speed for that, to be honest. You know, maybe something the likes of a safety, if, you know, you're extremely intelligent, you can read, you know, the play, and you know, and again, I think that probably has to come from a very young age, like the way that, you know, the offensive line are setting up, what way the tight ends are sitting, you know, what way the wide receivers are sitting, like that. Just pure, you know, you're so well experienced in that, you're seeing these things, you know, over and over again, like that. You recognize, you know, different routes and different things. So, you know, from that point of view, I think it would be hard to even play that position. But no, I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. Like, even you see in the UK there, you know, you had a couple of players. Wasn't there a defensive lineman there with the 49ers? Could be corrected now on that.
There's a defensive player with the Panthers, F.E.O. Bada.
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah.
Sorry, because it's on the Panthers All or Nothing on Amazon Prime there.
Yeah.
So it is. And, and you see him, like, he's just a freak in terms of his athletic ability. And, like, they show, like, a scene, he goes back to the UK, like, back into their pub, like, where they are, and he's meeting up with a couple of his friends. And his friends are just normal size, like, well, I'm presumed they still could be 6 foot. This man's like 6'9", 6'10", like, and he's towering over him, and he's huge, like, so I just don't know, like, I think, apart from kicker, like, or something like that, I think it would be very, very hard for an Irish player to make it, to be honest.
Well, the Christian Wade, the rugby player, was over there.
Yeah.
He was on the Jacksonville practice.
The Bills, he was.
The Bills, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's coming back for this year. I think he was on the practice squad last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know, or is he gone, or did he?
What was last year his first year?
Yeah, last year he was. He actually had, or last year, the year before. It was the year before, actually, I think.
Oh, from the year before. Sorry, I think it was. Yeah.
But he had a couple of flashes in pre-season. He'd one long run in pre-season.
His first game, I think.
Yeah.
You see him on a rugby pitch. He is rapid. Like,
isn't he
player on the pitch? Like, and then
by a mile though. By a mile, if he just gets the ball into his hand, and if he has that, like, yard or two space, like, if the other winger is not sitting up on his face, like, as soon as he's collecting that ball, he's gone, like. So he is just, in terms of his pace and the acceleration that he has, you see rugby players, they're in a professional entity, and they're struggling to keep up with him, and I just think it'd be fierce hard for someone from Ireland. Like, I just don't think we have the genetics for her, to be honest.
I tell you what's kind of interesting on it. We had a UCD football coach on, Derek Farrell. He coaches he's defensive backs coach with the Irish national team as well, and he actually played a bit in the States. He played all around Europe, and he played in Germany, I think, semi-professional. He was kind of telling us, like, about Irish people being able to break it into the US. Like, and he kind of had said, not in the next 10 to 15 years anyways, but he said in Germany, like, they started in the last, like, 15 years, they started playing from, like, 3 years old, and started camps at, like, playing American football from, like, 3 years old.
Yeah.
And, like, they really take it, like, fairly, like, professional over there now.
Okay.
And he says, like, there are molds now, like, the people that they're kind of molding as, like, young lads are, like, the same size of the US kind of athletes now. Like, and there's a guy, he's kind of interesting to look up. Like, his name is Alexander Honig. He's a German guy. He's been taken on as a quarterback for TCU, and he's 6'6". He's like 235 pounds. He's like 17. He's fucking unit altogether. But, like,
how do you spell his surname?
Honig. Like, they reckon, like he's gonna have a lot of cameras on him anyways, just because he's a European guy coming in as quarterback to a college team. Like, but like TCU, they're a Division 1 team, aren't they? I think. Yeah. So, like, I mean, they're
Horned Frogs games.
Yeah, Horned Frogs. That's them. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of stuff, actually, a lot of articles about it. I think the Athletic had one up or something like that, but is really interesting. Like, he's from this tiny Bavarian town, like, and he's massive. Like, he's molded in now because he started off like 2 or 3 years old over there playing it. Like, he's huge altogether. So, like, I'd say, like, if we had to get to anything like that, we'd have to start something like that out.
So you have to start at the Pee-wee, don't you?
Yeah. Like any sport, like GAA anything, you have to build the underage, like, and that's,
isn't it? Like, absolutely. And I just think, do we have the pool of in the whole population for people, I suppose, to garner a huge interest in it, that we're going to be sending kids to play that at Pee-wee football? I'd probably say not, to be honest.
Highly doubt it.
Like, in a couple of games, like, we've gone to go a few games in Wembley, and my sister's over there, so we sort of, tie visiting her, but going to American football games, convenient enough. But we've gone to a few over there, and there's huge German support at any of the games we've gone to. Like, any of the pubs you go to beforehand, and like, they're wearing American football jerseys, so you're striking any type of conversation, and like, huge support go there from Germany. And they were trying to get one of the European games weren't they, to some of the stadiums in Germany. And I just think that'll probably be the next thing, to be honest. What will actually happen for the European NFL games? You know, like it won't be just like the London NFL schedule or whatever. I think it'll be a European fixture. So,
because that's how they kind of became big into it, because they had the NFL Europe League back in like the 90s. And that's their following it, and that's actually starting up again this year.
Is it?
A lot of the German teams are starting up again. Like there's a lot of like American kind of college talent that wasn't good enough for the NFL, but's good enough for Europe. Like they're coming over to go again. Like, so.
And are they trying to maybe get another shot at trying to make the NFL? Do you think, or
I think it's in association with the NFL, but I don't know. Like they were really pushing it to be like an NFL kind of franchise kind of thing last time back in the 90s. And I suppose there wasn't really the market back in the 90s for it. But now like NFL is so widely cast like around the world, like everybody knows about it. Like, so I'd say it would have a lot more interest in it this time, like around.
Because it feels like, you know, like the likes of, we'll say, Johnny Manziel, like going to the CFL, like, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going up there to, you know, revigorate my career, or whatever, rejuvenate my career, whatever they're saying, like, and it's just like he's gone up there, like, and he is like, this is, do you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, look, I've no interest, huh?
Rubbish.
Yeah, it's cash.
You know,
playing in front of 100,000 people at Texas A&M, it's a bit different.
Crazy. Like I say, he's going up there. He's just like, oh, come here, like freezing cold, and obviously then as well, it's just like, fuck this.
You know what he's playing now? That Johnny Manziel. He plays in a league. It's called a fan-controlled league.
Yeah,
it's like indoor football with Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. He's the court. I don't think he's even.
James, did you see a Hail Mary there online?
It's only about 50 yards. It's a tiny pitch.
50 yard Hail Mary. Jeez, I might manage that. You know. But they love it, don't they? Like, you know, and there's like even the likes of that, those indoor arena competitions are like even like a like not an NFL type, but like sort of a secondary competition. The likes of some of the cities that don't have teams, you know, and take even St. Louis there, like they lost the Rams and they don't really, well, they have baseball there, you know, and I know that's, you know, a huge following over there, but like it just, you'd wonder why there isn't the type of funding to, like it wouldn't be on the same pay scale, obviously, but it'd be like a reserve NFL for want of a better word, maybe. You know, you'd wonder, because the pool of players that are lost, like, you know, take Johnny Manziel there, for argument's sake, like, you know, he was a treat to watch in college. Like his highlight reels are just ridiculous.
Oh, Johnny Football.
Yeah, like, you know, and just, you know, probably he maybe had too much hype about him, like, I don't know, whatever reasons why he didn't make it in the NFL, maybe he wasn't disciplined enough. But, you know, for the likes of them that probably just need a break to get into the NFL, I just never wondered why there wasn't something like that, you know, to hold on to that pool of talent there.
It makes sense. Surely there's a market. Like even San Diego, like you said, a big city like that. You know,
exactly. Another one. Absolutely, like, you know, and like you could have said maybe LA, like obviously now they have the Raiders going there, you know, and or sorry,
Vegas.
Vegas, and you know, even LA, like now they have the two teams, like, you know, but there is, you know, Oakland, like could be even another one, like where they could support a team like that, and like the following that the Raiders have, like, you know, do you know what I mean? A lot of those are not going to travel to Vegas to see the Raiders play. So they're essentially starting from scratch, like, you know.
Be pissed off. They're not going to keep following them after that.
No, and we got talking to a family. So we went to the tailgate thing down in San Diego, and there was a family there, and they had season tickets for a crazy amount of time. I don't know what it was. They were telling us the whole story about, like, I can't think of the Chargers. Gronky's the man over the Rams, but I can't think of the guy over the Chargers. But basically, like, put a proposal to the San Diego county council, whatever it's called, city council, and for $1 billion stadium, like an indoor arena. And he was going to pay 100 million, and they were to come up with 900 million. And they were like, "Are you joking, like, what was the story? But that's why they reckon, like, the deal with, you know, in LA was nearly signed before that, like, before he's even proposing. He knew the market he wanted to go to. He wanted to go to LA. Do you know what I mean? And like, it was sad to see these lads, like, were probably in their 50s, like, going here for, I don't know how many years they were saying their kids were going, like, and, you know, and then the grandkids going, and, like, it was just, they were like, well, you know, we're not going to LA to watch them. Like, it's like an 8-hour drive, 7-hour drive, or well, no, it's not. It's less actually, but still, you know, it would be maybe an 7 or 8 hour round trip or something. So
yeah,
you know, like crazy stuff. Like,
probably not even the point either. It's more so they're just, you know, leaving that particular city and then
identity is lost.
Yeah, so just, I always wondered why there wasn't a second market like that, because now you see the NBA sort of have something similar to G League. Now, I know their squads are a lot smaller, so, like, if players, they get a, you know, huge amount of injuries, they need to have people stepping up, like, they sort of have, like, reserve teams or whatever.
Yeah.
Just, you know, I always wondered why there wasn't something like that, you know, but
I think say back in late 90s, early 2000s, they started kind of a similar thing to like the XFL, say, but places that didn't have teams started their own league. It was going well, and there's two sides to it. They were getting on well with the NFL. They were getting on perfect, and that was the plan. If someone was doing good, that they could be upgraded to the NFL. Because the NFL want to be completely in power, because you know how dominant they are. And then the second thing was Donald Trump came in to buy a team in the league, and he I think he took over a New York team in the league, and he hated the NFL because the NFL wouldn't let him buy a team in the NFL. So he attacked them, and then they disbanded the league altogether.
Okay, right.
So they're
fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah, so they're very against.
all leads back to Trump.
Like the NFL wants to run the league, say, which is fine, and they want to be the dominant force, and then they don't want anyone like a rogue owner coming in trying to think that they can. So like the other owners, it's funny because it's like a funny show about. I think about it. I've seen a documentary, and they were like all the owners were happy in the space they were making good money, and they were happy to be second because they knew they hadn't the money to get into the NFL. And then Trump came in and ruined a lot for everybody.
Would you take it like, you know, it is probably what, $1 trillion industry, like I'd say the NFL, you know, the money that they have is crazy. You know, so like I could imagine they could do it easily enough, like, you know, they could have the pocket for it. You know, and a lot of those, like, you know, St. Louis has the stadium, San Diego has the stadium, take it even maybe Orlando, like they have, I think it's called like the Camping Stadium. It's like a stupid name or whatever. It's a 60,000 seater stadium that's only used a couple of times a year. Like, you know, it's nuts. Like, you know, so places like that, like, sure they could, you know, they could put something together, you know, and but yeah, so Jesus, it's mad with the Trump thing. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah,
but it just
funny.
seems.
I don't know is it a documentary, or I think it was a podcast kind of documentary I listened to about it. But it's funny. It's funny stuff.
It's probably the only thing he actually hasn't thrown his hand to. Like, obviously he was blocked, but really it was the NFL, wasn't it? Like, he seems to be involved in everything.
Yeah, because I think he wanted to buy like the Giants or someone like that, and the foundation that they're run by didn't want him in, and then he got blocked. He got, like, they have to. The whole league as owners have to vote if someone can take over their team, and they all denied him. Like, so then he went to the second league and bought his way in. Yeah, and then
probably will be something that he'll nearly try to throw his hand back into again, wouldn't it? Just to stay relevant and that as well, isn't it? But he's bonkers, all right. Yeah, but no, it's an interesting season. Will you watch the draft or? Do you follow that?
Yeah, we're gonna try and do. We're just having a chat. We might try and do a live show for the draft. We're not at. It's handy now when everyone's working from home. Like, well, most people are working from home. Some people are, and like it's usually at a weekend, isn't it? The draft.
It's Thursday night.
Oh, Thursday night.
It starts Thursday. Yeah, right through the weekend. Yeah.
So we'll take a go at the first day anyways. I don't think we'll get through to round 7, but
Jesus, lads, if you got through to round 7, fair play to you.
Owen, are you interested in watching Trevor Lawrence make it to the NFL? Have you watched him before at Clemson?
I have. Now, the college game, I wouldn't really follow that much now, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't have done a stint in the States because I know I have a couple of friends in New York, and they'd follow the college game hugely. Not really a team, because there's no like team in New York like that are playing Division 1. Well, I'm pretty sure that there's not a team playing Division 1, but they absolutely love it. They basically camp up on Saturday, like, you know, watching just the college games all day, every day. So they'd be always sort of sending me on stuff about him. So, but yeah, I think like he's the real deal. You see there last year, like, you know, he nearly bet LSU on his own, like, essentially, and or the year before, sorry. And yeah, and I just think there's an abundance now of like very good young quarterbacks coming into the league. Like, you take it, you know, Joe Burrow there, and unfortunately, like, you know, got injured there. You know, so yeah, I just think it'll be exciting to see him. You know, obviously, sure, Jacksonville have to go from, like, sure, they're not going to.
Yeah,
Christ, no.
Like, we're very lucky to get into that space, like with the way the Jets won those 2 games. Like.
Yeah, and would you think, lads, the Jets, like, would they have went for Lawrence, like, and tried to trade off Darnold? Like, what way would they have played that? Like, it would have been, you know, it would have been a very interesting couple of months, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They would have had to take Lawrence. The opportunity is too big to let it pass. Like,
isn't it?
Never get to that position again.
Yeah,
like even for the whole
like he's a once in a lifetime.
Like, you know, yeah, but once you've a generational type player coming along, like, you know, even to sell tickets alone, the marketing aspect of it, jersey sales, like, it'd be just like Jacksonville needs that. Jacksonville has been rubbish now for a few years. They're one of the, I think they're in one of the smallest cities in one of the smallest NFL cities, we'd say. So, like, their market is small enough as it is in Florida because you have the Bucks there and you have the Dolphins, and, you know,
because they get that London game like every year as well. Yeah. So that's serious.
He wanted to move them to London at one stage.
He did actually, yeah. Your man Can, isn't it, or something like that? Yeah. Which I think would have been crazy. I don't know how they would have managed, like, you know, with teams. Sure, it would have been based across in the States. Like, what were they going to do? Fly back over, like, after playing a Sunday night game, like, you know, and train for the week in London? Sure, it was nuts. Like, the whole idea of that was crazy. But yeah, as you mentioned there, Matthew, like, remember a couple of years ago, they had the outrageous defense, and it essentially carried them through to the AFC game. Or was it? Did they get to the division round? Not too sure, but
they got to the AFC. They should have won. Actually, they had a touchdown taken off the Patriots.
Yeah. But that year actually they had the upper tiers of the stadium in Jacksonville. They had, like, basically, you know, nearly 2/3 of the upper decks were closed off, and they sold them as advertisement spaces. So they did. So when they started winning games and they were going reasonably well, I think they won 12 games that year, actually. They were very good, like, and they had to end up buying out the sponsorship deals that they had because people were in demand. Like, there were so many people looking for tickets, like, and they haven't had that sense. And I just think someone like Trevor Lawrence, as you said, like, you know, will sell tickets alone, and, you know, think they need that. And, you know, similar enough to Burrow there and the Bengals, like, you know, I think they were nearly going down the route of, like, a Browns franchise. They were nearly going to be forgotten in some sense. You know, and when those players then, you know, when those high first rounders, like, you know, and the top 5 picks, when they come to 4th, 5th year and they're getting those contracts, they have no interest staying around with the Bengals and Browns. Well, Browns have been a little bit different. Like, you know, they've been nearly draft loading every year for the last 3 or 4 years. And then I think now that shows. But the likes of, you know, those teams there, so the Browns have been so bad for 20 plus however many years. Like, you know, just like players are not going to stick around. The likes of Jacksonville doesn't have a market there. You know, Cleveland, Cincinnati probably doesn't have a huge market. Like, so, you know, they have to have good ownerships. They have to have good general managers, don't they? Like, you know, to keep, you know, a decent culture in it, because if somebody is going to act in the make, like, you know, the whole deck will come down on top of them, isn't it? Like, and you know, and that's where, like, the Jets, like we were saying, like, oh, they're not really relevant, but you know, the fact that they're in New York, they nearly are in some sense. Like, same with the Giants, the last couple of years have been bad, but they've been still getting like prime time games simply because it's a New York outfit, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, Jacksonville doesn't have that. You know, Cincinnati.
They will. That's the hope for them now, I suppose. They will get that attention when winning starts coming, you know. But it's all about putting the players around him too, you know.
Yeah. He got an operation, I think, on his was it his thrown or non-thrown shoulder?
Non-thrown, yeah.
Yeah, so look, I suppose essentially it's not going to affect anything at all. But Joe Burrow was really exciting to look at. Like, I think he's a top-end quarterback, and you know, I think the Bengals have to be fierce careful about what way they're going to draft on an offensive line, because if they're going to be allowing him to run around trying to avoid defensive linemen coming for the next 4 years, I think, like, as soon as it comes to the end of that, he's either going to demand an outrageous contract or else he's just going to go, like, you know, I just don't think the way things are gone now, and teams are, you know, literally building around a quarterback, similar enough what the Ravens are doing. Yeah, I think you have to be careful in the type of players you're you know, trying to attract there, like from the top end down, you know.
And just I've asked the two boys this before. They'd have more kind of in-depth NFL knowledge than I would. But do you know when there's a first pick, like Trevor Lawrence, for example, he's guaranteed to be the first pick.
Has to be, yeah.
Why did they never? You'd imagine he'd have some power in where he goes. Why is he automatically going to say, I'm going to Jacksonville? Could he just say no? I know it's happened before. Was it Manning years ago?
Yeah. We had Philip Rivers.
John Elway. I don't understand.
John Elway as well, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I think, like, he probably would have preferred to have went to the Jets, like, you know, albeit I know they only won one more game, I think, than him or whatever. Yeah. But I think they have a greater potential because of the market of New York.
Yes.
You know, so it's a difficult one. You know, does he want to be known? It depends what sort of legacy he wants, like, you know what I mean? And like, I think the Mannings, you know, being advised by their dad, like, did he want to go to like a basement team, the likes of the Charger? They were sort of at that time, you know what I mean? And San Diego, whether it had a huge market like the Padres and them, like, were seen to be nearly a bigger outfit than the Chargers when they were being drafted. So I don't really know. It's a fierce, difficult one. I don't know. Like, I think there is reasonable potential in Jacksonville because of maybe, you know, the division that they're in then as well. Like, I think if they get things right, I think Houston are, you know, a car crash organization. I think, you know, you see Watson looking to go there now. And then, you know, there was a report out today, I think, that Watson there's a couple of things being filed against him, you know, that could potentially kill whatever type of draft capital that he could have got for him.
Yeah.
So like, there is great potential there, like, in that division. Like, if they get things right, but, like, you know, it's albeit like grand drafting first round, you know, quarterback, but then, you know, your second, third, and fourth round, you see a load of players now, and the Ravens probably been a little bit more better than other teams in the last couple of years. Their third, fourth, fifth round players have all been very, very good, like, and they've got either have signed very good contracts, or else they've got very good draft capital for them if they're trading them off. So I think it's important for Jacksonville who they like. They're going to get Trevor Lawrence, like, so it depends on him whether he wants to go there or not. But I think the second, third, fourth pick after that, I think it's very important for him, because they could miss a year there essentially with Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be the best, as they're saying, the best college quarterback that's come out of it since, you know, like, you know, the buzz that he has about everything since
Andrew Luck, I suppose, is the last one.
Andrew Luck, I suppose. I was trying to think back there, like, because you look at Mahomes, sure, he was only third round pick, like, you know, didn't really have much of a buzz about him. You probably could go back to Andrew Luck, like, you know, what's that, 2011, 2012?
Yeah. He was the unanimous number one pick that time as well. Stanford, so.
that's why I'm surprised, like, the Jets, I know it's about winning and I'm sort of nearly going back on it now. Like, feck it, like, they were in some position there, like, they were going to sack Adam Gase anyway, like, why were they being competitive in games? Like, well, isn't it really though? Isn't it really? And I know who was on it, was on a podcast recently enough, or he was on some talk show and he was talking about winning. I can't think of it now, but he'd won a couple of Super Bowls himself, and they were talking about, like, he never was on a top end contract. He would always been like top 3 in the position, and I think he could have been a D line man. His name would come to me now. And he was just like, look, it's all about, it was winning. Like, I didn't care what sort of check I got. Like, obviously I knew if I was playing well, that was going to look after itself. And I knew if I was playing well, we're going to win. Like, and you hear teams now trying to, what do they call it? What is it, trunking or what? Tanking. And he was laying into him. Like, he was just like, couldn't fathom this at all. Like, but I think for somebody like Trevor Lawrence, he was once in a generational talent coming out with, like, best quarterback for 10 years. It is 10 years. It's 2011 since Luck, or 2012, whenever. It's actually 2011 because Andrew Luck played 2012 because Ravens bet him in the wildcard game in 2013. So he was drafted in 2012, so, like, I don't know, I'd question the Jets there, like, how they're being run from the top end. Surely somebody has to be questioning that. Like,
they did the hard work, like, did all the games lost up until the last 3.
Traded away Jamal Adams, like, the draft capital that they had, like, and Sam Darnold wasn't even playing that well, like, and I just think lads were playing for pure pride more so at that stage. Like, you could have benched Darnold and, used the fit Darnold then as, to gain more draft capital, because there's a couple of teams that are probably in the lower end of the league. The bottom, we'll say maybe 6 teams, are really, really struggling for a quarterback. And he's a decent quarterback. Like, he's probably a starter, let's be honest about it. So they could have used him to certainly get probably, a second, maybe early 3rd round pick for him.
Yeah.
He's at least worth that, like, because what was he, top 5, top 10 pick? I know things haven't worked out for him, but, I don't think they're probably, they're not going to beat the Bills, won't beat Miami. The way the Patriots have gone in free agency, they probably won't beat them now either. Like, so they're still the basement team in the East there, like, really,
the barrel.
Yeah, so and is there going to be someone like Lawrence coming out of college next year? No, probably not. Probably won't be for the next 10 years. So interesting one. Jeez, that's a tough question, because, like, I'd be all for winning and, F that, like, but I can just think when there's a talent like that on the board, like, come on. Because I think in some ways, like, Jacksonville were nearly competitive in some games, and then they were realizing what they were doing. They were like, Jesus Christ, we're throwing away an opportunity to draft one of the greatest college quarterbacks ever. Like, what we were doing, it seemed like the last 5 minutes they were handing away touchdowns. Like, it was, in their game. So
you'd love to be flying the wall at some of the team talks, like, just to see.
Yeah. But I think, he's a serious opportunity. Joe Burrow, unfortunately, is a little bit more difficult of a task, like, coming into the likes of the North, because Browns have got things together. Ravens are always going to be competitive, even in the Joe Flacco era, they were winning 6, 7, 8 games a year. But, the division that they're in, I just think the South, that's, throw your hand at that there. Maybe the Colts have got things together. They've drafted, who was it, or gotten free agency?
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz. So, I just think, I think there would have been a real opportunity there for them now to go from last to making, if we'll say the Colts get a couple of injuries, Wentz seems to be a little bit of a wet paper bag. Like, if they can keep things together in Jacksonville, they will win games with Lawrence there. So they could make, even with a losing record, they could make a wildcard game next year, as division winners.
Yeah, 100%.
Our conference or division winners, sorry. Yeah. So, but no, it's an interesting one. But it's such a merry-go-round now. You see, Wilson now is looking to go, like, because of the way that they've been drafting, and you just see that quarterbacks now, they don't want to be wasting a career being bet asunder, really, because regardless of what type of money you can get, if you're a winner at the end of the day, you just want to win, isn't it? Like, so, and I don't think they'll be winning anything anytime soon. Niners are going to be a better Cardinals are going to be better with Murray. Do you know what I mean? And obviously then you have the Rams then as well will come away with winning games. So I think probably the Seahawks could be facing into this year like probably being the worst team in their division, like, which is mad considering they won it last year. Like,
yeah.
I've one last question for you. It's just you're on about the Q&A with the GA, but
yeah.
Well, Ravens fan, I suppose when Jackson won the MVP, then catapulted in the playoffs. Before he'd done that, we were thinking, oh geez, we could get a couple Super Bowls in his time. Like, do you think we could get any Super Bowl during his time, as like if he gets his contract, or do you reckon like when they give Mahomes his contract, they had kind of set a number on they're looking to get 3 Super Bowls? Jesus Christ, I'd wet myself if I got that many, but like
geez, I take that too. I think it depends on the contract that they give him, really, because I don't think he's like a top tier quarterback where he's going to be worth like what's in Mahomes going into. He's like mid-40s, I think, and a couple of years it jumps to 50 or something, isn't it? It's averaging out 50 or whatever it is with signing on contracts and things, I think, isn't it? But he's a 40 million quarterback. He is, because he'll win games on his own with his arms or legs. It doesn't make a difference. And I think Watson is probably that type of talent too. But I just don't think Jackson is that type of talent where he's going to win a game on his own. Rodgers, Brady, to be honest. So if that does happen where they give him a ridiculously high contract, I don't think I think in the next year or two, if we don't win a Super Bowl, well then I think maybe, we'll probably miss the boat with Jackson. That'd be my opinion, because I think he needs a good team around him. I think he needs a good team around him. And it's just to be seen there the last couple of years. Like, you see the Bills, like, they're such a well-run organization now with Mark Dermott as head coach there, and they're all in all of their games. Like last year, 2 of the games they lost, remember, it was the Hail Mary, Murray threw to Hopkins, like, sure, one flick, like that would have been an extra win they would have had. And I think they could have got the number 1 spot then off the Chiefs, I'm pretty sure. There was another game where they lost like in the last minute. It was like a 2-minute drive. I can't remember it. So like, they are a very good team, but I just think when he comes up against a good team like that, where they can do everything, stop the run, stop the pass, I think he will struggle. Jesus, if we took 3 Super Bowls there, like in the next couple of years, hell yeah, absolutely take that. Like, absolutely. But it's an interesting one.
I'll take one.
I'll take one. Because then I think if they do get one, I think then it'll give them a bit more confidence, and then you'll have more X Factor players that sort of want to come. It'll be that type of thing. There'll be nearly franchise-friendly contracts being signed in some regards that players will want to, to hang around and see what could potentially happen after that,
And saying that for 60 years in Mayo, we only get one.
Listen, I think everybody is hoping, and I think still don't think they're too far away, to be very honest. Just it's a pity they probably this current Mayo team, or maybe the 2 years ago Mayo team came along at a time when Dublin were at the peak. Like, I think that's a pity. Myself and Dad used to go to the All-Irelands. We went to the replays and stuff like that. Like, and unbelievably passionate fans, to be honest. Like, they're mental, but and you just seen the emotion involved in everyone. You really hope they do one. Like, honestly, no, I'm just saying that now. But then the type of footballers they have then as well. Like, they are like top class footballers. Like, Killian O'Connor would walk into any team in the country there. Like, and they probably have one player like that in every line who'd walk into most teams in the country. To be fair, but I just think Dublin maybe are a little bit too far ahead of people at this current time anyway.
Took care of
exactly. Yeah.
We could probably talk for another 2 hours home, but sure, we can wrap it up. We'll let you go there. Thanks a million for coming on, for taking the time out. Fair play to you.
Yeah, sound lads. Thanks a million. Really enjoyed it. Cheers.
Thanks a million.
Take care, lads. See you.
Bye.